Alright, I think I was gonna be farther away, but am I in focus? Okay, hey everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I already filmed this once, but I don't remember what I said. I think I said all the things I wanted to say, but the way I said it wasn't very, to my memory, I don't think I'm very happy with how I said stuff. Mainly just because I think my voice was giving up, as it is kind of giving up on me now. But, yeah. So today's video, I'm going to be talking about these two Korean classics that I read. Not recently anymore, but still pretty recently. And yeah, one of them was a really interesting read to find out about. Not really to have read it, but I was very shocked and excited when I found out about it. But before we get to that one, let's talk about this one. So first, I read Man-Jung, I read The Nine Cloud Dream by Man-Jung, and this, to my best ability, is a Korean classic, and it is on a surface level of, like, as a story. It is supposed to be a romance story that was written by the author in order to give his mom something fun to read about. And underneath that, like, the deeper layers underneath that is kind of I would say a political commentary on the emperor that the author was serving under. Maybe religious commentary, but in ancient Korea, like early Korean history, I know religion was a really big part with politics. Like it was always Buddhism or Confucianism, so I'm kind of just putting the two together under political commentary. But the thing is, this author, he was exiled or imprisoned a lot by the emperor because the emperor was kind of like wishy-washy about some stuff that they talk about in the introduction. So because of that, you can kind of see the author's... Wait, is it this? I don't want to, like, switch it though. Okay, well, so I'm not gonna be too accurate on which author, like, what happened to each author. I'm pretty sure it's this one though. But while he wrote this story as kind of a fun romance story for his mom, but he was also imprisoned and or exiled a lot by the emperor he was serving. So he kind of had some grievances against him that you can kind of see here. You can see it because, one thing, he kind of romanticizes the political life here by making the emperor very benevolent. By he kind of romanticizes political life in this book because there aren't really any serious consequences for any actions, and like what would be dealt with very seriously in real life, I'm assuming, was instead dealt with like as practical jokes to each other, and the practical jokes were very well received by each other. So obviously, you know, he's kind of, I'm thinking he was criticizing the emperor in his real life by making the emperor seem like this. But also, the big thing I know is that he wasn't a big fan of Confucianism, the author. So you can see here how he kind of criticizes Confucianism and then manages to implement Buddhist values in a, like, and implement Buddhist values in a way that's like, Confucianism will leave you feeling hollow and unsatisfied with life, even with like everything going well perfectly in your life. But Buddhism is the one that will actually give you like that spiritual enlightenment that every human needs. On the, like, in the deeper level and elements to the book, I personally can't comment on it. I don't really want to, because I don't know a lot of Confucianist or Buddhist or even Taoist values. So I personally couldn't really feel the enlightenment journey that the main character is going through. And so I think a lot of like the lessons or just the happenings here wouldn't have hit me that well, like didn't hit me that well. But yeah, but I definitely do want to reread this book once I do some more research on like the 3 beliefs that I mentioned, because it was like I want to be able to read this story and pick up on those undertones and like the subtle elements and whatnot. So yeah. As for a story, like just as a story, this was like, I don't know what else to say, because I don't see it as a romance, but maybe just like a very plain fun story of this man who is very fortunate in life and how he just like manages to get 2 wives, or like 2 wives and like 6 concubines or whatever, and how he also kind of manages to learn a lesson and also truly find the meaning in life like as just a story on its own. And yeah, so I had just rated this 3 stars because one, I wasn't able to really see and pinpoint the political commentary and like the criticisms the author may have had, and the like against Confucianism as well as the author emperor. But also on the story itself, it wasn't super fun. It was kind of like whatever, you know, barely any conflict and stuff. I would say the build-up, like there wasn't that much of a build-up to the main character in realizing how unfulfilled he's feeling. And there's this one moment where he like kind of achieves full understanding and he thoroughly understands the lesson he was going under, but that was literally delivered in a single line, and it didn't even specify what the teaching actually was. It was literally like the teacher said, so he just said like 4 lines, and then it finishes by saying when he had finished his teaching, I can't pronounce the name, so the main character and the 8 new nuns awakened in a flash to the unborn and undying truth of the Dharma. So it's kind of like, that was also so flat, because it's like, what was the truth? Like, it can't have been just those 4 lines, but it's like, it just felt so flat that like the story was in a way building up to the main character achieving thorough and fulfilling understanding of life through Buddhist teachings, but then it's kind of like they don't really tell us what the teaching is. So it felt flat, delivering the sense of unfulfillment as well as the enlightenment from the teachings. So yeah, 3 out of 5. Definitely do want to reread it. The story itself is kind of constructed really cute though, because every chapter there is like a traditional style art. And also the page breaks are so cute because it's like this little traditional cloud and it's adorable. The papers are nice and thick and it was just comfortable to read it as well. So yeah, very fast read, less than 300 pages. It's 215 page story, so yeah. It shouldn't take too long if you're not looking to kind of really think into it and look into it. So next one is actually The Shock. Okay, so when I was just skimming and flipping through the book, I saw here the story of Hong Gildong, and I was like for the shock, because I don't know if you know, people who live in Korea or like know Korean, when people I've mainly only really seen this in like college, but when the professors are showing kind of like an example, like a sample template or essay or example of the, I think my voice is starting to shake. Is it starting to shake? Sorry about my voice, but I'm gonna try to keep going. What was I saying? Oh, so when they're showing like a sample or example of an essay or a template or just whatever assignment, when they're on the name part, like how they want you to format the name, the class, the name of like your name, the name of the class, professor, etc., or the title page, they always use the name Hong Gildong for the name. So I always kind of just accepted it as the way the States uses the translation here compared it to John Doe, but the times I've seen John Doe were for like crime shows in which it was an unidentified body. So I was kind of like, I feel like context-wise it's not really the same. So I personally wouldn't compare it to John Doe, but I would compare it to like the very not generic, general names you see in class textbooks or workbooks. So like, I feel like John is a very commonly used name example. But so like John Doe, or like Susie and stuff like that. Hong Gildong is I always took it as like the equivalent of that. And I never really thought or would have assumed that it came from somewhere. I just wonder why Hong Gildong. But I never really like thought to like, maybe there's an actual reason as to why I'm thinking why specifically Hong Gildong, until I found this book, which is the story of Hong Gildong. But this book is very historically significant because unlike this classic, Hong Gildong is said to be the very first story written all in Hangul, which is, or Hangul or Hangugo, which is like, you know, Korea's official language. Because if you don't know Korean history, and from the very little that I know of, Korea was under the rule of China for quite a long time. So for a good, before they were colonized by Japan. So for a good time, Korea really just spoke and wrote in Chinese until the Joseon dynasty, in which King of Korea, he devised the Hangul alphabet. However, for some reason, the upper class of Korea didn't like, kind of looked down upon Hangul, and they said this, anything written or using Hangul is not like educated. It's not like, they're not educated, it's for like the low level class and whatnot. But later, you know, the sense of nationality arose, and then they accepted it, and then they adopted Hangul as the official language. This one, I can't remember from the introduction, but this one was written in Hangul, and I don't remember if it's a time when Hangul was still looked down upon, but either way, speculated to be like one of the first written pieces in Korean. So because of that, there's a very big historical significance behind it. And so this story is about Hong Gildong, who is kind of like the Korean equivalent to Robin Hood, but also very different. Our main character, Hong Gildong, he is a very talented, he is like extremely blessed in like all aspects except for his social position, because he is an illegitimate son of a government minister. And because of that, even though he's like skilled and talented in all the areas, he is not allowed to he's basically has no opportunity to make a name for himself or for his family, and he can't really like succeed in life basically. But he has very high ambitions. So circumstances occur, he leaves the house, he ends up being drawn and taking over a band of outlaws, and then through like his time as a leader, he steals from the rich, I can't remember what he does with them. He steals from the rich, but he doesn't steal or do anything that'll kind of like fully cross the line due to his sense of loyalty to his family, as well as the and respect towards the emperor. But then eventually he breaks off, and then he creates his own, he like establishes his own country and then becomes king there. So this is an extremely short story. It's like 77 pages long. Again, rated 3 stars because other than the historical significance that I said, as well as like the thematic relationship this book represents to Korea, the story itself is just it's like whatever. I didn't hate it, but it was just really nothing to take away from it. So the thing with this is that this is a very Mary Sue-esque story. So there's literally no conflict, no issues, no obstacles or anything that Hong Gildong goes through, and everything is extremely and literally smooth sailing for him. Like, you think, like, it seems like he'll get in trouble somehow, but he always managed to like turn it around due to his very eloquent speech, or his very high intelligence, or his extremely strong and powerful magic. So it's very Mary Sue. Like, literally everything he wants he ends up getting, like power, money, blah blah. I was just mainly excited to read this because I was like, I'm finally able to I was able to find out the whole thing behind using the Hong Gildong as like sample names. And yeah, I was disappointed by the story, but you know, experience, like, there's actually a piece of literature that inspired that name, so it was still like fun for me. And yeah, again, construction of the book really nice. The pages are nice and thick. This one I don't think I'll reread because there doesn't seem to be much to it other than the character of Hong Gildong and like what he represents and the historical significance. So yeah, I will say though, so that's it for today's video. I rambled a lot. I have no idea if I made any sense. My voice gave out, and yeah, but I will say for these two, I am now an advocate for reading the introductions in classics because I realize just how helpful they are. But these, I will say, you really should read the introductions. Like, these give a lot, the introductions here give a lot of historical and background context to the stories themselves, but also to the authors and like the significance of the book, and basically kind of what it gives you a heads up of what you should be aware of when you get into the book. And I just feel like it was really helpful in putting things into perspective for me. Like, a lot of things I said about the historical significance and like the thematic representation of Hong Gildong, I got that mainly from the introduction, but like once I read it, I was like, actually that does make a lot of sense. Like, I can really see how that is the case. And then this one really did make me more aware of, like, I would probably have enjoyed this story more or pinpointed a lot of the intricacies had I been into more kind of or more knowledgeable about, like I said, Buddhist, Confucianist, and Taoist values and beliefs. So I highly recommend reading introductions for this, or like whichever editions you come across and end up getting. But yeah, so really interesting reading of Korean classics. I might try to find some more to see if Penguin maybe has more Korean classics. And yeah, I think this has opened a door for me to read classics from not strictly just Western classics, but also around the world. Maybe for now I'll start into like some more Korean classics, maybe Japanese classics. I do want to try reading some Chinese classics. So yeah, so I'm glad I read these. I think this has opened doors for me in the future, which I am excited about. And yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you've read these. Let me know what you thought. And give me any recommendations for classics. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.
I got a feeling for you. I could easily wake up to